Hello everybody, my name is Angel. Welcome to Lupus Fitness 333. This is Philosophical Talks number 18. Today we're going to talk about the persona or the mask. Alright, I'm going to do my best to give practical advice, but first I'm going to give a little bit of detail of what I mean by the persona or the mask. The persona or the mask is basically how you present yourself to the world. This is, again, another shadow aspect that has to be confronted and slowly integrated into the mask. Now, the person you are in private should coincide, for the most part, let's say 90%, to the person or the mask or the persona that you wear outside of the house. Because some people, and I know I was one of them, sometimes your persona or your mask ends up overtaking who you really are. And this leads to complications. Number one, it leads to overall unfulfillment. Number two, it leads to, how do I say? I want to call it like little bursts or pokes of the shadow every now and then that you may or may not be aware of when it happens. And it makes things a little bit uneasy in conversations, in social situations. So there's that. And number three, eventually you become empty. You become empty inside. And that's different from being depressed, because depression, from my experience, in my opinion, is more like you're aware something is wrong with you and you feel sad about it and you don't know how to get out. When you feel empty, you don't really feel nothing and you have no idea why, and you have no idea of how to get out of that, because you don't feel nothing. You're just completely numb, which is worse than being depressed, because at least with depression, you're aware of something. Okay? Now, let's get to the practicality of it. Alright? To integrate the shadow or the real you to the mask, simply what you have to do is kind of think of it like an hourglass. You want to shift it like this and let the real you slowly integrate into the persona or the mask by taking the best practice is take one thing that you do in private and try to do it every day in outside of the house or outside of your place. And you should do it, how do I say, 1% every time till you get used to doing that thing that you do in private in the real world. You understand? Now, obviously there are certain things that you may or may not do in your private life that you should not bring over to the social life, okay? You have to be able to judge that for yourself, okay? But basically, how you want to do it is that 90 to 80% of your persona should still be most of your shadow or the person you were at home. You understand? You want to be that person as much as you can in the outside world too, because this way you're more fulfilled. You're not lying to yourself, you're not lying to others, and overall you'll feel more content. You understand? Not happy per se, because obviously if you're being 100% authentic, you run the risk of some people not liking you. You run the risk of rejection, which is fine. That's okay. That's the spice of life. Okay? You want not everybody to like you. You want the right people to like you. Alright? That's a healthy outlook on life. Alright? Because if you make everybody like you, then you're not being true to yourself. You understand? Now, does that mean go out there and be an asshole? No. but sticking to what your beliefs are, your core beliefs. All right, that's something that you yourself have to figure out what you stand for, what your moral is, what your codes are, what your principles are. You have to define that for yourself. You understand? No one can give you that. So you have to do that for yourself. The other thing is, I'll give you an example of what I mean by the mask or the persona and the real you. The movie Fight Club is a perfect example of the persona and the shadow, or the persona and the person. Okay, the authentic you and the persona. The narrator, who is Edward Norton, who doesn't have a name, is the real person. The shadow or the persona is Tyler Durden. Okay, he wants to be himself, but is afraid to do so. So he goes to places to essentially be fake. I don't know if you've seen the movie, but he goes to like special interest groups or support groups just to feel something, feel love, feel supported, feel whatever the hell he wants to feel. But it's inauthentic. He's just doing it to get this emotional response or emotional support from people that he obviously is lying to. And Tyler Durden is not that. He's the complete opposite. He's doing stuff that's radical, that he wants to be like, and is living the life he desires, but he's projecting it. He doesn't realize it's him throughout most of the movie. It's just a split. It's a split of his real personality. You understand? And that's one of the dangers of not being able to integrate the real you or the shadow into the persona. You understand? You'll end up splitting. And that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing, because there is a saying, and I'm going to put a link to the video, that if you don't have that integrated fully into who you really are, into your authentic self, what ends up happening is that subliminally it ends up taking control of your life, or it ends up sabotaging or self-destructing you in some way. And in that film, there's a lot of self-destruction and sabotage. You understand? And that's a path that you want to do your best to avoid by making sure you do all the work beforehand, or slowly push the authentic you onto the persona. You understand? It's going to take time. It's going to take time. And I encourage you to do it in drops. Not to fully, jump head first into that, because that's going to be overwhelming, not only for you, but for the real world. You understand? Okay. The next thing is, you have to understand that the person that's with you most of the time is you. You have to be comfortable with you all the time. Why? Because you're with yourself 24/7. The good, the bad, the ugly, you're with yourself all the time. You have to get to know that person. You have to come to terms with that person. You have to be one with that person. You understand? This, in a lot of circles, I realize a lot of people don't talk about it, because I guess it's a boring topic, or it's taboo, or it's just a wild concept that shouldn't even be talked about, because it's too how do I say it? It's too therapeutic. It's too what's that word? Psychologically dense, right? So the only person who you should always try to fight for to like you is yourself, because that person is with you, whether you like them or not. So it's best that you break bread with them, make them your allies, because that person can be your greatest enemy if you don't have a good relationship with them. You understand? That's why it's important to take care of yourself physically, mentally, and spiritually. Think of yourself as an external person. You understand? You looking in the mirrors, think of that person as another person that's you. You understand? But they're outside of you. How would you treat that person? You have to treat that person the best, because they are you, you are them. And if you don't like how they look or how they talk or whatever, and you start treating them bad because you're not okay with them, then a lot of bad shit's gonna start happening to you. Forgive my language, but a lot of bad stuff will start happening to you. That's when the subliminal starts sabotaging or self-destructing you. I know because I went down that path. All right, it leads to really, really dark traits that if you're not careful, you're not aware of. Okay? So back to the analogy of the movie. Tyler Durden is a soul without a body. The narrator, or Edward Norton's character, is a body without a soul. They both belong to each other, but he in his mind has separated it. You understand? Because in the movie, Tyler Durden is a soul without a body, he treats Edward's body like whatever. He doesn't really care about it. Obviously, he trains it because he needs to train it for whatever he wants to do. But for him, it's just a means to an end. That's why in the movie, he, like I said, subconsciously takes control of it. And when does he do that? When Edward Norton's character falls asleep. In real life, it's not really like that. It's more like a reactionary thing, at least from my experience. Meaning, like, let's say you have a conversation, somebody says something you don't like, and you have an automatic emotional or some kind of response that you don't know where it came from, but it just came out like that, like a gun. And you're kind of like, and everybody's like, whoa, where did that come from? There is a shift in energies there, where it didn't feel like the you that you usually portray. It felt like something more authentic. Understand? Okay. And Edward Norton's character, like I said, is a body without a soul. Just a person walking around aimlessly, doing the task that is required of him, being the quote-unquote good guy or the nice guy, all that shit. So, forget my language. But the point is that that's what it leads to. You end up being consumed by this thing or this concept of a person that you have to be that ultimately doesn't serve you. It only serves other people, and other people, for other people don't really care what you want unless you make it clear what you want. All right? So, like I said, I'm going to end it with this. The mask that we wear is the one that we show the world. Okay? And we have to take care of that mask as if it is the real us, but we have to make the real us part of that real mask, or part of that mask or that persona. Why? Because that's you. And that person, or that person that you're supposedly showing the world, is with you all the time. So you don't want to make that person fake. You want them to be more aligned with who you really are, with obviously some rounded out edges, or you could not be that. You could be unapologetically you, but don't go in with like people don't like you because you're you. You also have to be aware of how you rub people. If you rub people the wrong way because you're unapologetically you, then you have to accept that. Everything has a pro and con. So again, the practical advice is to be yourself bit by bit by integrating it into the persona. All right? So, with that being said, thank you again. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. I would like this video to reach 30 likes at least. I would appreciate it. Please send this to whoever you believe will benefit off of this. Again, my name is Angel. This is Lupus Fitness 333. Have a nice day. Bye.